Hello, hello, and welcome once again. J76NY here, and we are into Chapter 2 of our For the People playthrough on the political RPG Choose Your Own Adventure game Suzerain. Last couple episodes, we did go into debt because of budgetary choices. Our cabinet needs money for whatever they want to do, and we had to give it out. So we are now in debt. I went with the increased budget for the military, and then I believe healthcare, or it could be education. I don't really remember. But those two got increased budgets. Everyone else stayed the same. Let's start out our series or our episode here, reading the news. Good way to start. From the Lockhaven Times, the Lockhaven League of Women March. Hundreds of women, organized by the Sordish League of Women, marched and called for gender equality in the country. The groups held signs highlighting the issue of domestic violence, the wage gap, maternity leave, and the sexist attitudes in the education system. Police forces quickly created a security cordon to protect the march after a large group of religious counter-protesters arrived. The calls for equality were drowned by the loud group of conservatives. The protests were a clear reflection of the division that surrounds the country. It also raises questions if the First Lady Monica Rayne's agenda to raise awareness and trigger change on the issue will bear fruit. Geopolitical. Vogslandian Navy forces oh my god, starting out good here. Vogslandian Navy forces Agnolian drill ship to retreat from Helgeland. Navy Chief Admiral Kurt Hexer on Tuesday said the Agnolian drilling ship was driven away from Vogsland's exclusive economic zone in the Nurmanlander Sea. I sure don't make these things easy to read. The ship entered the area without Vogslandian Navy prior permission. The illegal occupation of Helgeland does not give Agnolia the right to claim the seas. Since 1950, there has been a permanent presence of the Vogslandian Navy in the Markian Sea. And Arcasia fires the M4 ICBM. Oh boy. Dwight Walker has announced the first successful Arcasian intercontinental ballistic missile test, which was conducted at a military test site at the Nuam Atoll in the middle of the ocean. The fired missile, codenamed Missile 4, clever code name, flew several thousands of kilometers towards the direction of United Kantana before crashing down at sea close to the abandoned radioactive Rostov Island. Alright, so Arcasia is popping off missiles, and Agnolian drill ships are getting pushed out of their territory. All good things. I hope you guys are enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the game and telling you the story of President Anton Rayne. Alright. Benfey Regional Airport overcrowded. We have been receiving reports about the capacity of Benfey Regional Airport. The mayor of Benfey is preparing to put a request forward for an investment to build an international airport in the city. For a touristic region like Benfey, he claims that it would increase the overall prosperity of Swordland, and he might be right. Alright, let's see. Anything international going on before we get to the rest of the domestic? Oh, here we go. There's something up here. Yeah, let's check this out real quick. The report from Agnolia. Agnolia has started a new oil drilling operation very close to the disputed territory of Helge Island. The tensions increased when the situation turned into a standoff between Vogslandian and Agnolian warships. It took several hours for the gridlock to be resolved, and the situation was de-escalated for now. What island did that say? I'm not seeing it. Might have been this one here. Okay, read the report from Laren. The General Staff has performed an analysis on our borders to assess our military defense capabilities against a potential Rumberg attack. The results show that our military equipment is outdated and needs replacement as soon as possible. The continuation of the worrying report shows that in the event of an attack, our border would be broken through easily, leaving the primary regions of Sordland exposed. Hopefully the increased military budget will take care of that. Let's go down here to Suzerain. Massive network of BFF priests discovered. The Vice Minister of the Interior has reported the discovery of a large-scale underground network of BFF. That's a Bludish Freedom Front that encompasses all cities in Bergia. Under the guise of state-sanctioned priesthood, the BFF have recruited hundreds and possibly thousands of Nuridi worshippers, including non-Bludish citizens, to support their cause for independence. A dozen arrests were made, but since most police officers don't speak Bludish, it will be difficult to find the actual ringleader priests of the network. A request was made to ban Bludish as a language from sanctuaries. I don't think we're going to go that far. See what Narble's up to. Education in rural regions require improvement. Kira Walda reports that the current education institutions in rural regions of Sordland have been largely neglected. As part of her analysis, the literacy rates in Sordland currently stands at 80%, while rural regions like Narble have a literacy rate of only 64%. The lack of schools per capita also reflects these results. Let's take a quick look here. Oh wow, these are by turn. Just want to see if I had invested in education or healthcare. Here, this was last week's stream, even though it's the next episode on YouTube here. Let's check here. The report from Lockhaven. Central Bank of Sordland issued a damning warning regarding the extensive government budget deficit that has occurred in the first years of the administration. The potential consequence of irresponsible economic management were highlighted. Edith Agnock relayed that a large deficit could have dire consequences on the strength of the currency and could hamper the potential of the still-to-recover economy. Edith Agnock is a Sordish economist and banker who serves as the chairman of the Central Bank of Sordland. Chairwoman, sorry. Alright, now we go to the capital, see what we have here. It's the Workers' Rights Act. Now this is something that is probably pretty high in demand. There was a pretty major mine accident in one of our cities, so that kind of brought workplace safety to the forefront of the debate. And I think a lot of the people of Sordland are looking for some help from the government in terms of workplace relations. Section 1 establishes a minimum wage of 2.5 Sordish Rayne per hour. Section 2 sets a weekly maximum of 60 hours of labor. Section 3 establishes a double overtime pay per hour after 40 a week. I wish I got double time after 40. That'd be sweet. Section 5 determines that workers are to be protected against occupational hazards and be provided humane work conditions. Section 5 establishes that migrant or undocumented workers have the same workers' rights as citizens. If any employer shall not abide by these rules, They will be heavily fined by the government, and if not corrected, will face legal action that gives us a -1 on our government budget, which is already at a -2. So my choice here is to side with the people and increase our budget deficit to -3, or veto, which will probably not go over too good with my constituents. And tough one. I think I'm going to sign it, just to stay good with the constituents. I think the budget deficit is something that we can manage, and I hope it doesn't have too much of a negative impact on our economic recovery. This is definitely going to be seen as anti-business. Walter Tusk might not be too happy about this, but we did promise him tax cuts in our last meeting, so maybe we can balance out his dismay over this with the tax cuts. Sure there's more to go on. Like maybe polling data or charts or something. So we signed it. We went a little further into debt. The news is no doubtedly going to report on that. The Workers' Rights Act has been signed into law by President Rayne after the approval of the Grand National Assembly by majority vote on Monday following a 6-hour debate. Mansoon Leckie, who campaigned heavily for the bill, who's this? Sordish politician of Bluish descent, member of the Assembly, and the current leader of the Independents in the Grand National Assembly. Okay. That's who he is. Also sought to express his gratitude for the confirmation of the new laws, saying it contained much vital rules and regulations for the workers, the backbone of our nation. The new law establishes what I just read. Okay. Rayne signs Workers' Rights Bill into law from the Lockhaven Times. The recently implemented Workers' Rights Bill caused the initial protest against the government to mellow down after the Mortal Mine disaster. See what I mean? Chants of anger have turned into solidarity marches. So the people are happy about this if our accountant isn't. One of the spokespersons for the Needham Mining Group has accused President Rayne of acting impulsively with this bill, saying that it puts too much weight on the businesses. After the public announcement, Needham has received hundreds of lawsuits from people around the country. I don't know if it was impulsiveness or just keeping with my For the People style that I'm playing this playthrough as, but I do see that as an improvement for the workers of Swordland. The Radical, in a surprising move, President Rayne has decided to do something right for his citizens by signing the Workers' Rights Act into law. I don't think that's very fair, Radical. I am working to reform the Constitution. This looks as a publicity move after the terrible Mortal Mine disaster. The new law establishes a minimum wage and sets a ceiling for maximum amount of hours. On the other hand, this may simply be a diversion from the actual real issue of the government, which would be what? Okay, anything else we have to attend to before we get into this meeting? Here, I'm not seeing anything. Our highway project doesn't look like it's making very much progress here. Okay, regional investment decision, budget allocation of law enforcement, an evening walk with Monica. Well, we could get the business out of the way and then go for a walk with our wife. How's that sound? This is going to really hit the budget. I can see it now. Gus Manger and Simon Hall have prepared an extensive regional investment package to revitalize one of top 3 economic fragile regions by boosting the municipalities budget, providing large sum of business grants and giving cheap loans to companies with liquidity problems. The proposal can be implemented in one of the following regions: Bergia, Lauren, or Agland. -1 on the budget, and we've got more budgetary issues to deal with. So, let's see. Bergia is the only landlocked region of Swordland, bordering the regions of Nargis, Gelsland, and Greater Holsword. Bludia. Let's check this one. Second smallest region in Swordland, bordering the regions of Greater Holsword and Grunai. Its capital is Morna. Lauren fell to become one of the weakest economies among the regions of Swordland after the recession in 1951. It is home to many coal mines and factories, as well as the largest forestry industry in Swordland. The Needham Mining Group is out there. Agland, fifth largest region of Swordland, bordering the regions of Nargis, as well as countries of Agnolia and Rumburg. Its capital is Avery. Part of the geographical region of Greater Agnolia. Poorest region of Swordland has had a stagnant economy. I could always not invest. I don't know how far in debt I want to go here. That's a tough call, because I don't want to let them go with nothing, but we don't have the funds. Wonder if I could skip that for now. I guess not. What to do? If I were to invest, it'd probably be in Agland. I think I'm going to hold off on any more investment. So we do have a budget allocation for law enforcement. I was in my office reading reports from the ministries about the current situation of the protest. My next scheduled meeting was about the law enforcement budget with Nia and Lilius. I heard some knocks on the door. Nia entered and took a seat in front of my desk. Lilius was absent. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Lilius will be late. Apparently there was an urgent matter at the Ministry of the Interior she had to attend to. Shouldn't take long. What urgent matter? She said something about supply distribution for the police forces. Nothing major. I returned to my reports and Nia smoothed back an errant strand of hair. There was an awkward silence. While we wait, why don't we have a little chat? This might come off as a little strange, but I'm proud of you. Despite everything, you are actually trying to reform the country. Well, thank you, Nia. It's we, Nia, not me. I couldn't do any of this by myself, so no, I am proud of you. This is just the beginning. There's so much more to be done. Flattery won't work on me. What do you want? Team effort there. Team effort. Well, thank you. You certainly have a way with words, don't you? Words are just words. Actions are what's important. I wouldn't be the president otherwise. And you seem to be doing well at both so far. Pros are canceling out the cons for sure. She leaned forward. How are you really holding up, Anton? Being the president, I mean? Oh boy. It's the hardest thing I've done in my life, but it's also the best thing I have ever done in my life. Nothing I can't handle. Feels like a whole weight of the country crushes down on me every single day. That seems kind of whiny. That seems a little overconfident. Nothing I can't handle. I didn't like the first choice. Very well, I'll take your word on that. I want to assist you and the country as best I can. Unfortunately, my hands are tied with the current budget allocation we have for law enforcement. We just went over the budget. and I decided where the money was going. I guess it wasn't with her. She barely finished the sentence before we heard a knock on the door. Nia almost jumped in her chair. Lilius Graff entered the room. Mr. President, Nia, I hope that I'm not interrupting your conversation. No, not at all. We were just discussing a few things. Nia smiled at Lilius. I'm sorry for being late. There was an important matter at the ministry. Just a small dispute over who should get the supplies. Nothing major. Lilius took a seat next to Nia as she continued talking. Well then, let's go straight in. We will provide a brief update on the situation of law enforcement. Go ahead. The Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court is working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Interior to address the protests in the country. I must add that thanks to the hard work of our judiciary, the law enforcement forces assigned to my ministry are doing their jobs efficiently. I would call it the success of our forces on the ground, not due to the judicial branch of our government. Lilia shot Nias a brief, withering glance. They don't like each other very much. The current budget has dampened hopes of more funding in the force. Yet here we are, with mass protests happening in the country. We are standing exactly where we were before. The decisions made need to reflect the current situation of the country. This was certainly not the right decision when we were dealing with mass protests. Agreed. Well, they agree on that. Many in the Ministry of Justice hoped for an increase and were not satisfied with the decision. Okay, but I already made the decision. Why are we talking about this? Regardless, this means that we will have to deal with the growing court backlog. It is manageable, but it will be a challenge for sure. Don't worry, I'm sure you will manage. I had to make sacrifices for the good of Swordland. You will do as you're told with what you have. I'm sure you'll figure it out, ladies. Tell that to the policemen on the ground when they are overwhelmed by the protesters. The ripples are already being felt across the country. I hope this decision is not the beginning of something bad. A brief moment of deliberation passed. Lilius and Nia got up from their seats. Well then, I must now return to the ministry. Me too. They left the room. As soon as the door closed, I could hear their muffled voices as they argued. Well, that was fun. They basically just wanted to complain that they didn't get more money. And now we are going to go for a walk with our wife. It was early evening, still light out, with just a faint nip in the air. Frank was at a friend's and Deanna was at an art class. Monica and I decided to go out for a walk before dinner. Our favorite place for a stroll was the nearby Capitol Park, the largest green space in all of Holsword. Before the children were born, we had spent many an evening engaged in deep conversation along the riverside promenade. Another favored path wound through the woods behind the presidential housing complex to a private pond where the children could swim in the summer. I was told that Sol himself had built it, the benefits of being president. Monica met me by the door and we put on our coats and hats. I was going to suggest we walk towards Sol Square, but the guards told me it's been closed for yet another protest. I wonder who they're protesting this time. What does it matter? They are two sides of the same coin. Common thugs, I will make sure they are punished. Must be those damn communists again. Or the young swords are taking this too far. We'll bash the commies. Old grudges die hard, I see. This is different, a nastier breed. And for a good reason. We'll go with for a good reason. They are causing a lot of problems in the country right now. Of course, the young swords aren't any better. In any case, where shall we go? I'm not sure Capitol Park is a wise idea in this climate either. You're right, it's not worth the security risk. Let's stay inside the gates. Nonsense, we have our guards. There's nothing to be afraid of. Let's go to Capitol Park. Well, Let's go to the park. See what happens. If you say so, let's go before the children get home. I informed the guards about our route and we left the house. The guards followed us with a black Cadilla. As we exited the gates, walking briskly, we reached Capitol Park in minutes. As we entered the park, Monica broke the silence. So how was your day? Paperwork, endless meetings, usual nightmare. I'd rather not say, or just not bother answering at all. How was yours? Avoiding my question, are we? Very well. Oh, it was fine. I caught up on some reading while the children were at school. As we reached the river, we saw Ionis Corona, the former Minister of Justice, walking in the opposite direction. I remembered that Nia Morgana used to be his vice minister. He gave us a quick nod of acknowledgement. Ionis had once fought hard and strong against Seoul's judiciary reforms, but after years of the government blocking his every move, he gave up on his ideals and became a part of the administration. Can't beat him, join him, right? What did our ideals really mean if they could be changed so easily? What about the people we idolize? Evelyn also came around for tea. She says hi. She was feeling rather low, though. Apparently she and Peter had a bit of a disagreement. What's she nagging him about this time? Peter's in the doghouse again. How'd that happen? Yeah. Apparently Peter had too much whiskey as usual and didn't behave when Evelyn's father was over for dinner yesterday. My lovely vice president. You know Peter. What do you think of this? That's Peter, perpetually pickled. I'll have a talk with him. To be honest, I don't care. I don't really give a shit. It's his life. He can do what he wants. It's just a rough patch. They'll be fine. I hope so. They always seem so close. Aren't you glad you and I don't have these kind of quarrels? Being married to a shrew like her would make anyone turn to the bottle. What the hell? Oh, a future playthrough forms in my head. You know, Evelyn hasn't been the same since what happened to her at the Whole Sword Post last year. You remember how she got fired for supporting Alfonso? Peter tried everything to get her job back, but it didn't work. Sad day for journalism and free speech in Swordland. I completely agree, a sad day indeed. But enough about the Vectorns. I also spoke to Janice on the phone. Who? I don't know who it is. Might as well ask. You remember my friend from university? Yeah, okay, if you say so. We were in the Sordish literature class together. A few years younger than me, red hair, scar on her forehead. We had dinner with her and her husband once or twice. Neither the name nor the description rang a bell. Right, yeah. There you go. Anyway, she's been working as an executive assistant at the Violet Pictures film studio. She recently became pregnant and asked her boss for paid maternity leave, and guess what? She was fired for it. Yep. Can't her husband provide for the both of them while she raises the child? Look at it from a cost standpoint. Obviously, they don't want to lose money. After asking for maternity leave, that's terrible. So what? Well, my wife is obviously some kind of feminist, so I'm not going to tick her off here, you know. Happy wife, happy life. Okay, so I know I was beside myself when she told me, and that's not all. They immediately replaced her with a younger, less experienced man, the son of an executive, no less. So she called the first lady to ask for help. Nepotism, eh? They must have wanted him there all along, or that's utterly ridiculous. That's a little carried away. We'll go with nepotism. That doesn't justify what they did to her. I didn't say it did. As it happens, another friend works for a television station that's hiring secretaries, so I connected the two of them. Problem solved. Good job, dear. That doesn't solve the deeper problem, though. So you're finally starting to see things my way. Women in this country are still seen as wives and mothers first, human beings second. They're harassed at work, underpaid, blocked from positions of power, and those are the lucky ones. The fact that there are still places in this country where little girls like Deanna are denied the right to an education. Yes, and I will do what I can to change that. Go on. I'm sure the parents have their reasons. I'm working on it, dear. It can't just be you. These little girls and people like Janice need someone to speak on their behalf. A role model, a successful woman. Like the First Lady of Swordland, perhaps. Hint, hint. We were right in front of one of the park benches that line the river. Monica gestured to it and we sat down. What about all these protesters that were supposed to be out here? Here we go, which brings me to my point. I know that the mayor of Anrica, Curtin Lesty, will be delivering a speech at the annual opening of the Benfey Festival. That's that guy, Curtin Lesty. Member of the United Swordland Party. Okay. My wish is to take his place and deliver the speech instead. Lesty was one of Swordland's most influential politicians. He had started his career in Benfey before rising to power in Anrica. Benfey's current mayor had personally invited him to make the opening speech. Replacing him with Monica would likely anger him. Not enough to cause a major incident, but enough that he might not support me in the assembly. Kind of need the support. Game does a good job of putting you between a rock and a hard place, that is for sure. I want to base the speech on women's rights in Swordland, on the oppression and discrimination we face every day on the basis of our sex alone. I want our voices heard, and this festival is the time to do it. I just need your blessing as my husband and the president of Swordland. Monica's eyes were blazing with a fire I hadn't seen since we were students. She wanted this badly. I had to be careful with my promises. And I do have to be careful with what I tell her because I need the support to get my constitutional reforms through, but she does have a good point about gender inequality in Swordland of the 1950s. Okay, so you have my full support, always. Sure, it's just a speech. What's the worst that can happen? Does it have to be at the festival? Why can't you make your speech another time? Absolutely not. Out of the question. I will give her my full support. This is why I love you. Thank you, Anton. You have no idea how much this means to me. Monica beamed at me, her face flushed with excitement. One way or another, I want to contribute to this country, no matter what happens. We are not weak, Anton, but we are only strong as long as we stand by our ideals. This is why I had married her, this passion and resolve. I should have anticipated that sooner or later she would join me in the political arena. We rose from the bench and started making our way back home. Otherwise, we will end up like... Colonel Saul? Say what you will, but that relic of the past was, and frankly still is, one of the most idealistic people in Swordland, but his idealism sucked. So, nobody liked him. Guess again. Alfonso. Our former president tried his best. Yes, he failed, but his ideals weren't the reason. Take another guess. Well, okay. We'll go with the last and only choice left. Exactly. He backed down on his ideals, and now everybody knows him for what he actually is. Oh, he's that guy that walked past us. I should have known the answer to that. Oops. At the moment we passed Ionis Krona again, he was on a nearby bench taking a smoke break after his own walk. Monica plastered on a big smile and greeted him, then turned back to me. Spineless. If that was how people remembered Ionis, how would they remember me? Whatever he had done, whatever ideals he had lost, he must have had his reasons. Would they remember me as a true patriot, a reformer of the country? What would they write about me in the history books? Let's get back to the house for dinner. Lead the way. She smiled. You know, I believe I will. Okay. There you go. When we arrived home, I called my secretary, Olivia, and asked her to inform Mr. Lesty that Monica would be making the speech in his stead. The sun began to set over the horizon, bathing the clouds in shades of orange and pink. All right. My overview panel has been updated. Order. Nationwide peaceful protest. There are peaceful protests happening across the country due to recent events. If we don't contain the situation, it might escalate to more violent ones. Oh. Okay, as long as they stay peaceful. What do we have to do here? Read the report from Lockhaven or discuss of changes to the tax system. Well, here comes oh God, I don't remember his name. Walter Tusk crawling out of the sewer. Let's read the reports from all over the country before we go there. Red Youth member charged with terrorism and treason. 12 militants from the Red Youth have been tried and sentenced to 96 years in prison due to terrorism and treason-related charges in Boren. Many more Red Youth members are waiting for their turn in prison. The mayor of Boren reports concerns about reaching the maximum capacity of the prisons in the region. General Staff commends the administration. The General Staff convened at Camp Strongarm. Nice name. A session much shorter than usual concluded with a positive military analysis of Swordland's field capabilities. The Chief of the Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger, made a public press statement praising the administration and its efforts to strengthen the most important branch of the government, the military. All staff generals co-signed the letter of support to the Rayne administration. Cool. Appreciate it, guys. The report from Dyer. BFF bombs police station. In a treacherous attack, the BFF has bombed a police station in Dyer. Initial casualties are reported at 3 officers dead and 22 injured. The perpetrators have escaped into the Gumrin Mountains near Suzerain, and a search was started to bring them to justice. The border guard has been notified of the attackers in case they try to flee to Wayland. The Workers' Party of Bludia condemned the incident. Anything else? Let's read the newspapers. Protesters target sacred symbols. Sacred figures and symbols of Dastrunity, including Saint Dast himself, have become the targets of vandalism as protests continue across Swordland. What initially began as a protest against the murder of Bernard Circus in January has turned into rioters forcibly tearing down monuments of former Sordish politicians, saints, and other figures. Okay, lots from the Lockhaven Times. Explosion in Dyer, 3 killed, 22 wounded. That's the police attack that we read about. Workers' Party of Bludia has condemned the incident, adding the BFF does not reflect the views or the culture of the Bludish people. Detonation. Swordland in a tough spot. Current public reports from the Ministry of the Economy are pointed to a deep underlying problem with Swordland's economic standing, debt. It appears that the current ventures to get out of recession have put a considerable dent in our reserves. Although the comments from the administration state that the situation is only temporary, that remains to be seen, and our economy did go down one little notch here. So, uh-oh. Richter calls president to action. Head of Swordland's main opposition party, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, the PFJP, Franz Richter, has said President Rayne needs to address issues like term limits and electoral thresholds if Swordland's democracy, freedoms, and economy were to be developed. That's all part of the package, bud. All part of the package. Did you read it? Richter also talked about the need for educational reform and expressed his support for Minister of Education Keira Walda. The Economist. Recession is growing faster. Oh. With double-digit unemployment and plunging economic output, the recession has been a reality for a long time. But if there was any remaining doubt that Swordland is in a recession, it has now been removed by an announcement from the Business Council of Swordland. In the announcement, the councils pointed to the unprecedented magnitude of the decline in unemployment and production and its broad reach across the entire Sordish economy. The economy shrank by 2.4% in the last month and lost further value against Arcasia lira. Smolak condemns Arcasian soldiers in Lesbia. Wezek President Viktor Smolak on Thursday criticized the Lesbian government for bringing Arcasian soldiers close to the borders of Wayland. Last month, Prime Minister Alvarez and President Walker agreed on the construction of several military bases in Lesbia that would sustain ATO soldiers. In his speech Thursday, Smolak said President Walker has succeeded in spreading Arcasian imperialism to eastern Mercopa, which will have consequences for everyone in the region. And Chancellor Hegel condemns military buildup in Lesbia. So Lesbia is kind of a hot spot right now. All right, read the report from Lockhaven. Young Swords members arrested and face terrorism charges. At least we're equal opportunity imprisoners. 6 terrorists from Young Swords plotting to bomb a rally were caught by Lockhaven police. The perpetrators confessed to their plans and said they did it in response to the ban on the Young Swords. They have, well, that's really going to make your point and mine, so thanks. They have each been convicted and sentenced to 154 years in prison for planning a terrorist attack on the people of Swordland for treason against Swordland. And now it is time to discuss the changes to the tax system. A tax meeting. We were at the top floor of the Business Council building, which had a great view of the beautiful Lockhaven. I looked outside from a tall glass window. The Markian Sea stretched as far as the eye could see, and it was dotted with many ships towards the horizon. They were mostly cargo ships carrying precious goods in and out of Swordland. Tracing back the paths of the ships, I looked at the harbor. Lockhaven was home to one of the largest harbors in the entire continent. I think they recycled this from another meeting we had here in Lockhaven. The door opened. Simon, Mikhail, and Edith entered the room. Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President. It's good to see you all again. Good afternoon. Simon put down his bag on the table and started collecting his documents while the others slowly took their seats. Mr. President, before we start, I would like to mention some rumors that I heard. Workers' Rights Act did not sit well with many business holders. I kind of expected that, especially the first section about the minimum wages. I heard the same. This has caused these businesses to lose millions of rens just overnight. Unfortunate, really, especially during a recession. What is unfortunate was that this bill was enacted this late. You're in no position to question my decisions. I don't care about rumors. If someone wants to say something, they can say it to me directly. None of these are really all that good. That seems like the most neutral response. Simon waited patiently. Once everyone was ready, he adjusted his glasses. First of all, I would like to thank everyone here for their hard work on our tax system reform. We all know how complicated our current system is, and this work wouldn't be possible without you. He turned to me. The ultimate goal here is to end the recession. Before we move ahead and start formulating a plan, we need you to determine our direction, Mr. President. We have a few possibilities as a result of the work we have done so far. We can increase, maintain, or decrease the taxes for large corporations. I believe some of us in the room have a few strong opinions about this. In parallel, we can increase, maintain, or decrease the taxes for small and medium businesses. Let's start with the large corporations and we'll move on to small businesses. What is the outcome if we increase the taxes for large corporations? It is not an option at this point. Our economy is in shambles. Okay. Taking what's remaining from the businesses will destroy the economy further. We could balance it by decreasing taxes on small businesses to put some relief on them. I'm going to decrease the taxes on everybody. Just because. I think that will free up more money to be recycled back into the economy, which will, in the long run, help us out. I see. What if we decrease the taxes for large corporations? Is there a downside to keeping the things as they are? What does everyone think we should do? And I'm ready to make a decision. I'll see what everyone else thinks. I don't think we can do anything at this point. Although I would have preferred a decrease in taxes, it doesn't seem to be the best option. Our international trade is driven mostly by the products of these corporations. They are the backbone of our economy. Exactly. An increase should be out of the question. These companies are the backbone of our economy and our way out of the recession. What if downsides of keeping things the way they are? Unfortunately, that's the only thing we can do at this point anyway. Seriously? The economy is completely destroyed, Mr. President. I don't know how we'll get out of this mess. What if we decrease taxes for large corporations? It's not an option at this point. Our state is broken. Why even have this meeting? What the hell? We are barely functioning with the help of taxes. We could balance it by increasing taxes on small business. I see. I'm ready to make a decision. Very well, I'm all ears. We will increase the taxes on large corporations and balance it with a decrease for small businesses. Maintain taxes for large corporations. We'll decrease the taxes for large corporations and balance the budget with an increase for smaller business. Wonder how long it's going to be before Tusk shows up. Will increase the taxes for large corporations and balance it with a decrease for small businesses. I wish it would give me an option to decrease taxes for everybody, but it doesn't. We will get one of our budget points back if we increase it, but nobody seems to think that's a good idea, so on the advice of my advisors, I am going to maintain taxes for large corporations. This will not change anything. We won't gain anything by standing still where we are. I protest against this. Enough. The president has made his choice. Well then, I have taken a note of our action. I will put it to the implementation as soon as possible. Simon opened his briefcase and swapped out the stack of papers he had in front with another stack. Let's move on to small and medium businesses. So I could have decreased taxes on everybody. What's the outcome if we decreased it? Unfortunately, this is not a possibility. Our state is broken. This is just going to be the same thing over and over again. I'm ready to make my decision. Maintain taxes for... Well, we can either maintain taxes for small and medium businesses or maintain taxes for small and medium businesses. There we go. We'll look into how to go about implementing these changes. Well then, thank you everybody. That will be all for today. Enjoy Lockhaven. They left the meeting room. I decided to stay a bit longer. I went by the windows again and kept watching the sea in silence for some more time. Alright. Well, what's this over here? Visit the inspection of schools in Lairn. And then there is nothing else. So we have to go inspect some schools in Lairn. Let's read the newspapers. Torrin Hill School wins award. The National School Rankings have announced the results for the 1955 school metrics. Surprisingly, in the category of primary and secondary education, the Torrin Hill School has surpassed all others, with the highest average results achieved in the student performance, discipline, facilities, hygiene, and staff happiness. Education experts believe that the principal and the head teachers excelled in taking responsibility for their duties, which led to better performance in many aspects. Upon closer inspection, the Lockhaven Times editorial team found out about how much delegation occurred in the staff that even included diligent teenagers to improve and maintain the operation of the school. Smolak threatens new military incursions targeting BFF. Uh-oh. Victor Smolak has threatened to launch military operations in northern Wayland, close to the borders of Sordland and Lesbia, against the Blutish rebel group, the BFF, which Rocklot considers to be a terrorist organization. In a television interview to curry support for the next month's referendum to extend his presidential powers, Smolak announced that the military is preparing a new international operation with possible cross-border implications against the BFF. Observers point out that a tough stance against the BFF has been causing quite a bit of problems here. Yep, I'm enjoying the game, Unique K. How you doing today? Welcome back. I remember you from last time. Okay, that's going to do it for today's episode of our For the People playthrough on Suzerain. Right now we are walking on a financial tightrope. Our budget is a -3 and our economic growth has dropped down to 2 bars. Because of that, we were unable to provide any sort of tax cuts, which I'm sure we'll hear from Walter Tusk about. Also weren't able to raise taxes due to the negative effect it will have on our economy. We did manage to pass the Workers' Rights Act, which might not have been the best economic thing to do at this point, but it was right for the people of Sordland, and it was the right decision to make. Anyway, if you like the episode, hit the like button. If you would like to follow along with President Rayne, hit that subscribe. Thoughts, tips, and advice in the comments below. And as always, J76NY saying thank you very much for watching and have yourself a very good day.